Tinubu never created a militia. Tinubu is one of the foremost politicians in Nigerian history.
Tinubu and his
has helped in
people
strengthening
created
democracy.
a militia. Who said those words, Daniel?
Tinubu has helped in strengthening democracy in Nigeria.
Tinubu and his people created a militia, Daniel. Who said those words?
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another interesting edition of Facts and Opinion. And as usual, my name is Pius, Kadon, and I am
Muwaffaq Adadu.
Facts and Opinion is one program that talks about, the trending topics that are there in the country to talk about. And of course, we get to present the facts and then get your opinion and also reel out some of our opinions. And on today's edition of the show, we're not going to be doing it alone in the studio. We have a guest joining us, and I'm talking about Mr. Abubakar Suleiman Oga, who is the founder, Viral Nigeria, and of course, African Union Agenda 2063 ambassador.
Yeah.
He's also a political analyst, a social media influencer, and a lecturer. He joins us via Zoom. You're welcome, Dr. Abubakar. Are you doctor? Something?
No.
You're welcome, Abubakar.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So on today's edition of Facts and Opinion, we're going to be talking about 3 trending topics. And I believe these are, topics you have an idea on, also topics that have been on everybody's ears for the past few days, or even for the past, 24 hours or even so. And then firstly, we're going to be looking at Daniel Bwala, that is the media aide to the president, his interview with an international journalist, Mr. Mehdi Hassan. That interview has been trending. Lots of people have shared their opinion on that interview. What do you think about what trailed the interview? Reactions that trailed the interview, I mean.
All right. Thank you very much once again for having me, and good evening to everyone who is joining us. At least the time here is good afternoon, rather, because the time here is around, I think, 1:53. Well, you see, somebody of Daniel Bwala Kaniba, who happens to visit a renowned journalist such as Mehdi Hassan, and he was unprepared. I think it speaks a volume about what is happening currently in this current administration, actually, because immediately after the interview and the so much negative reaction that the interview was having, Daniel Bwala released a very short statement on his social media channels, his official social media channel. And he mentioned that he has been in communication with Head to Head. That's the program that Mehdi Hassan was hosting for over 6 months. They have been communicating. Yes. So you see, if you have 6 months to prepare as a spokesperson of the president, I think you should do better. I initially thought he went there unprepared. I initially thought he even went there without the knowledge of the government, or maybe, he just happened to be there and they called him for that interview. But after he released that statement, it makes things worse on my own part, because already it was a disaster. The interview was a disaster. But when you look at it on the bigger picture, it wasn't really a disaster per se, because if you know who Daniel Bwala is, you know that he has been somebody who has been intelligent, who has been a communicator as well. But you see, when you are defending something that is undefendable, even the best will crumble. This is exactly what happened. So he found himself in a position where he just can't defend what is happening, But instead of accepting and taking responsibility, for what is happening and proposing solutions, or encouraging the people, or trying to propose solution, or what efforts they have put together, no, he rather went on the defensive. And you cannot defend, like I said, something that is not defendable. And he said,
I think one aspect. Sorry to cut in, Mr. Abubakar. I think one aspect of the interview that we should also look at is the fact that those questions were not coming directly at some of the policies of this government, but they were looking at what he said.
I don't have
what he said before.
The truth is, I don't have a problem with what was said or what he said, because as a person, right, you have to own up to who you are at some point, or what you said at some point. But you saying, I never said it. Who said that? I never said that.
I think at that point, that was a better defense for me.
It was not. And for a spokesperson, it was not.
For somebody who is not used to that style of interview, I think he was in a very strange terrain.
I'm
not trying to speak for
Daniel Bwala, someone of international repute. I won't say he's finding himself in an unfamiliar terrain, especially looking at the fact that you have gone as far as being in the presidency. Then you must have had some form of resume to defend you all the way to that top. It's just not about all propaganda, all drama and all that took you there. You should have something to show for it that took you there, right? So for you to be there and then having all those issues, and personally, I just felt he got emotional.
They were just questioning his inconsistency.
He got emotional, and Mahdi Hassan took advantage of that emotional part of him. And I was expecting him to do better, actually. I was expecting him to control the game at that point, control the interview, control his tempo and his emotions, not to allow Mahdi Hassan to get the better of him at that point. But he lost it.
We know Mahdi to be someone who is very domineering when it comes to
Of course.
interviews, and then he knows his craft. So that is why I'm saying it's kind of a strange terrain for Boala, because he is not used to that kind of interview. And then if you really watch the interview, you understand that he was not given much time to really react to some of these things. So maybe you get to shed light on that part.
You see, it's the issue of familiar terrain or not, I think is completely out of the question. Because you see, Mehdi Hassan has been around for a while. He's not just a journalist who surfaced yesterday. And if you are a media personality in the office of the spokesperson and even the special assistant to the president on policy communication, this is the offices that Daniel Boala is holding. So Daniel Boala is you. If you go to University of Jos, his alma mater, you see his picture there in the law clinic. He is a reputable individual. Let's forget the fact that now he decided perspective. I feel it's now at the wrong side of history because he joined this administration. But that doesn't take away who he is over the years and the career he's built. And you see, when I think it's even an easier question when they are asking you questions regarding your own decisions. You don't need time to prepare. If now you ask me why I'm doing this, why we are doing this meeting now, at least I think I don't need time to prepare to answer you as to why we are here. So you see, when they ask Daniel Boala regarding things that he has said in the past, I don't think that's something that needs time to prepare. It's a conscious decision that he made, to take back some of the things that he said and decide to join the Tinubu administration. You see, this was why I felt like it was a mistake him going there, because it was so recent, some of the things he said, that you cannot sugarcoat them.
Wouldn't that be self-indicting? Sorry, wouldn't that be self-indicting if he takes back some of the things he said? I think it was
no, not necessarily taking back. No, not necessarily taking them back.
I think if you are owning the government that you clearly stated that it has failed woefully, so why are you still working with the government? Isn't that self-indicting?
No. I feel okay. I was in a different camp, and then I now moved to another camp, and I am seeing things differently now from a different perspective. And maybe I had my information wrong when I was in the other camp, and then now I have gotten the factual and more recent information stating that okay, maybe Tinubu did not set up that militia, maybe it was set up on his behalf or something, and whatever happened, and I apologize.
And I think some of these questions are not strange because even the national media here we have spoken to Daniel in that respect. Okay, go ahead.
You see, it doesn't necessarily mean he has to take his, he doesn't have to take his words back. What he needed to do was, as human beings, as we go forward, we tend to grow. We tend to unlearn and relearn. There are ideologies or ideas or thoughts that I started with yesterday that today I might learn new information and I'll realize I'm wrong. Maybe what I had, the information at my disposal yesterday was not sophisticated enough for me to understand the perspective of the other argument. So you get to get new information as you go forward in life. So maybe where he was standing back then is something that he has unlearned and he has relearned, and now he's understanding the Tinubu administration. But I'm still going back to this key important factor. You see, there was nothing to defend. That was the mistake. You cannot. He needed to just own up to the already made mistakes and approach the argument from an angle of trying to do better. But when you try to say that these things that are clearly visible with every metric of that, it was. Yes, that was the problem, because you can't just fact figures and data. They are there, they are visible even to the blind to see that these are things that are happening. So I expected him to come through from an angle of professing solution, bringing in possible outcomes that this government is trying to take to tackle. But he chose to deny those things. And of course, you look stupid denying things that are happening that all of us are seeing, everybody is seeing in Nigeria. So it's not a Boala issue. Anybody who went there and tried to be on the defensive, that's exactly how you look. So it's a mirror of anybody who is trying to defend what is happening.
If we are going to go by, we are going to continue having this discussion of Daniel Boala Mahdi said, I think we are not going to hear the end of it.
There are so many contexts.
Too many angles to it. So we are going to move on to the next topic. And recently, the Bauchi State Governor made mention of something. He made mention that the citizens should learn to stand up for themselves and face the bandits. And they should also know that nobody is going to come for them. Nobody is going to come save them. What do you think about that?
Well, you see, the issue happening with Nigerian institutions is a decay, and why is a failure on our own part. And this is why I always insist that we should go back to our requirement of the national reform confab that was held, the Wali Adesanya report. You see, it looks like, yes, nobody is coming to help. It's the reality of many people. There are communities that are paying this ransom monthly. They are paying this bandit monthly just to be able to go to farm. They tax themselves among themselves to pay them just to go to farm. You know, they write to some communities and demand money, and they will have to pay. So when you find yourself in a society, because the insecurity now is operating almost like a parallel government. I will call it a parallel government, of course, because we had a situation where Boko Haram and ISWAP were even fighting for territory in Nigeria. So that is a parallel government. Why are they fighting for a territory? That means they already have territory. And if they have a territory, that means they are a parallel government. And they have been molesting, attacking, and destroying communities beyond imagination. And you see, the reason why I said we have to go back to how we set up Nigeria regarding security architecture. You see, the arming of security outfits, the owning of security outfit, and the control of security outfit is 100% the responsibility of the federal government. So even as a state governor, you can only make calls and use your influence through the federal government to have security apparatus or security outfits in your state. And you will have to work with what the government give you. If the federal government decides to send you 2,000 soldiers, that is what you are getting. If they decide to send you 1,000 police, that is what you are getting. So you see, it brings us back.
Recently, we've been having this conversation a whole lot about the state policing, community policing, and all that. How do you think this is going to help? Is this another recipe for another disaster, or is this possibly supposed to assist or help in mitigating this crisis?
No, the only thing I'm worried about state and community policing is implementation. You have a reputation of poor implementation in Nigeria. But of course, state policing and community policing is always a welcome idea. Almost every developed society does that because it's easier. You know, when you have people from that community who are brought up in that community, who knows the nooks and crannies of that community to be the ones to protect that communities. It helps in information finding, sourcing information, and identification, because these people are not foreigners, even though there's a good number of them that they are. But when there is a situation in your community, I think the immediate community have information regarding, one of the major challenges I could remember, one major was talking about in an interview with the Boko Haram is that some of the communities don't point to these people because they are afraid that they will come back later and attack them, but they know them. So you see, the first line of any security defense architecture is the community. That is the first line of every security architecture is the community. So, but the problem that we could have in Nigeria is the problem of implementation and misuse, which has been our culture for a very long time. So that is just the aspect I'm scared of the community. So you see, when Bola Mohammed was telling communities that, I think he's saying it from a place of somebody who is powerless, who is tired, who has nothing else to look at victims and tell them. He's tired of making promises. He's tired of telling them things will get better that are not getting better. So he's telling them the obvious truth. And sometimes you have to feel for these governors, because if the right thing were done, I think it could have been better.
Okay, so talking about the state police, right? Haven't we seen some sort of rebranding ever since we started having the likes of Omotekun? And if you go to other states, they have their own security arrangement. They have their own security architecture where they set up a particular security outfit to fight local skirmishes here and there. So haven't we seen that rebranding or even restructuring in Nigerian police that should have translated into state policing? Isn't that in place already? I mean, that's what I'm even trying to say. Don't you think that is in place already with the coming in of security outfits like Omotekun?
The vigilantes.
Yeah, isn't that some sort of state policing?
Community policing. And the reason why it is not the community policing is because they lack the sophistication, they lack the training, and they lack, the ability to be state policing. These are just vigilantes. Let me say upgraded versions of vigilantes. But when you are talking about community policing, we are talking about professionals here. People who have the adequate training, who have the adequate stamina, who have the ability to control and muster weapons, people who are ready for what is to come. But you see, it's more of a self-service when you look at the Amotekun, the days that every state is trying to create, it's another avenue looking more of an empowerment, to just get few people to be collecting salaries in the disguise because they don't have any knowledge of what you're putting them into. This is why some of them, you see conflicts in some states, they even turn to traffics. They are trying to do traffics or doing this or doing that. So it's a misconception, but it's not state policing. This is why I said implementation of how we go about the state policing is very important. So that is a different thing entirely. When you are trying to bring up state policing, you will have to put them through the rigorous training. It has to be as standard as the national police. The only difference at this time is they will be carrying out their responsibilities at community and state level. But you cannot compare the training that a Nigerian police is supposed to get with the one that an Amotekun is getting. I don't think they even get any training at the end of the day. Some of them, if you ask them to run 100 meters, maybe they can. So you see, they are more vigilantes.
But this national police you're talking about, yeah, this national police you're talking about, have we seen them really bring some of these terrorists down to their knees? Because we can literally say our policing system has really failed. And then for evidence, from what Muwaffaq just said, the governor of Bauchi State just admitted that, I mean, it's a way of saying, I'm throwing my hands in the air, and then if you guys can help yourself, you can defend yourself. Fine. And then this is a state where we have these national police there. So is it a matter of number or sophistication? Are we saying number should be the priority right now, or even the sophistication of their weapons?
I feel at this point, for me, it's not even about the numbers or the sophistication. You have the numbers, you have the sophistication, you have the weapons, but you don't have the morale. It all goes to waste. It's of no use because the morale is what is mostly needed. Because at the end of the day, what are you fighting for? You are fighting for your home. You are fighting for your survival. If you do not do it, you most certainly are either going to die or your family member, something is definitely going to happen to someone, right? So you are not doing it for anybody. I am doing it for myself. In this particular case of the national police, the federal police, the morale is very, very low. Now, at this point, even if you tell me that a constable is going to be collected a sum of 400,000 naira monthly, I feel these people are already used to the whole issue or the whole bribery, all the issues that they have been going through, and they are not going to stop anytime soon.
Okay? But that's the reason why I'm saying, are we really looking at churning out the numbers, or even looking at how you can make them more sophisticated?
You see, if I would chip in, actually, we don't have enough police. We are when it comes to terms of police, we are understaffed. The reason why we are understaffed is that currently in Nigeria, we have about one police to about 200,000 citizens. It doesn't make sense. We are over 200 million in Nigeria. We don't even have a million police officers. So when you look at it, statistically speaking, the Nigerian police is understaffed in terms of policing. And you see, when you look at cases like this banditry, cattle rustling, and what have you, these are supposed to be police. These are supposed to be police cases. These are police cases. They are not military cases. They are police cases. This is supposed to be police case. But you see, when you look at the numerous challenges that we have and the overwhelmingness that the police have and the lack of proper funding and enough resources available at their disposal, they tend to prioritize cases or things that get their attention. They are at a level of we cannot do it all. So they tend to prioritize. If you have resources at your hand that you can sponsor their investigations, they go ahead and prioritize your case. Or if the government puts priority in your case, they go ahead and prioritize your case. But I can tell you for free that if Nigerian police wishes to work, it works. Now, this is where the problem is. The issue is the recruitment. The police that you see on the streets, the constable with one rank or no rank at all, is an entirely different police officer from the one that went to the police training academy in Wudil Kano State, the ASP, they are two different people if you meet them. So you see, the only difference in these two people is how they were recruited. One was just on the street and was picked as muscle. He was running around and they just meet him with police. The other one went through 5 years. Yes, the other one went through 5 years of proper conditioning, education, training and proper knowledge of the policing. So when you look at these two police officers, they are two different people entirely. You will be asking yourself how. That's just the only difference. The process of the recruitment is what makes the difference. So unless we have to revisit how we psychologically, recruit police, looking beyond the physicality of just somebody who can run miles without stopping, somebody who can do this and do that without getting tired, as the complete requirement of a police officer, we will continue to have this problem. So when you look at these processes, I think it boils down to the fact that everybody who wishes to go through that process, everybody who wishes to go through the police training academy will, of course, accept some form of compensated payment, to standardize to a certain level, not the money that. But even if you go through the 5 years in the police training academy in Wudil Kano State today, and you come out as a constable, and they are paying you the right amount, there will be many Nigerians who will be willing, to go through that processes. So it's an issue of ramifications, benefits of police. Is it worth it? That is the question. Is it worth it to fight for it or not? So it's an important question that needs to be answered.
So for want of time, I mean, Muwaffaq, this issue of remuneration, welfare for our security has been something that has been there for time immemorial. And then it's a good thing that the president has approved the increment of salary for our Nigerian troops, and then I think that's going to be like a moral booster for them to do more in the forefront. And I mean, we all understand that this insecurity issues from facing is an issue of ideology.
Of course.
I keep telling people that you might be sitting with a terrorist without knowing him, because what we're fighting is ideology. We're not really fighting something that it's not a warfare where somebody will tell you I'm coming tomorrow and then you get prepared for it. So I think our Nigerian government needs to do more, especially with our security architecture, try to see how they can beef them up. And I'm not trying to say just giving them the needed sophisticated weapons and all, but to ensure that their welfare is properly taken care of. That is going to give them a moral booster to do more. So we're going to our next item on the table, and then hopefully it's going to be the last for today. And then we're going to look at the Mina. And it's also an insecurity issue too.
It's also an insecurity issue. But it's both funny and disheartening to an extent for a daylight robbery to be conducted on the road. And while the CCTV cameras were picking it, I saw no security personnel.
I really think we've gone through the phase of armed robbery. I thought we're done with it.
We were done.
So when I saw the news, I was like, do we still have armed robbery in Nigeria?
The part that got big, the part that was funny was when they came, they first brought him out of the car, shot some shots, and then he ran away, and then came back, opened the back door, dragged with one of them, took his rifle, and started firing back.
His bravery is commendable.
Because it was like, he was like, okay, they shot at me, maybe it didn't penetrate, maybe I have a natural bulletproof or something. So why not go back and actually try testing what I feel I have? Sure. Then what would have happened if, for going back the second time, the bullet actually went through?
Yeah. So that's another angle actually that a lot of people are concerned about. What if in the process of trying to retaliate and then something bad happens to you? A lot of people have that concern too. But let's hear from you, Abubakar. What do you think about the whole incident?
You see, as funny as it was sounding and looking, it's actually unfortunate, and it says something, to me personally, to tell you the level that a Nigerian can go now, to safeguard what belongs to him. He has money at his position, and only God knows what he intends to do with that money, how difficult it has been for him to acquire such money, So when he ran away, he thought about it, subconsciously fighting for his life. And something again kicks in him to tell him that, look, even without money, you're as good as dead. Even without money, you're as good as dead. So it became an issue for him that so long as this money is going, then I think I would rather just die too. This is how far we've come as the people that, just what we were saying, once the money is gone, he cannot count on the police to recover it. He cannot count on anybody to recover it. It's gone, it's gone. And it was like you said, it was something that I thought we've gone beyond, but his own case is different. It's not an issue of, that's from my own perspective, actually. It's not an issue of somebody just sitting down outside a bank with gun, waiting for unsuspecting victims and just collect their money. I felt like his own case was orchestrated. There was information leakage. Definitely, there's an information leakage between either the bank or people who were aware of where he was going and what he was collecting. But you see, in a Nigerian bank, something of that nature happened. I think from my own calculation, over 10 to 15 shots were fired, and there was no security outfit that was captured in the video. Not even one. So how can a bank in Nigeria, with the current challenges that we're having, on a normal day, a bank should have a security, because money is always tempting. Money is always tempting. So even in societies that are civilized, that are secured, there is always a security in the bank, whether private or government owned. But the fact that somebody could enter a bank, collect money, come out without even leaving the premises of the bank, and the person, because he's still in the premises at the bank's parking lot, so he's at the premises of the bank, and somebody will come and collect his money or exchange such fires with him, and even the citizen will take it upon himself, to develop the courage and fight back to an extent that he was even able to collect a weapon. And in all of this situation, there was no security. I think even if it's a nearby police station, they could have been there by then, because gunshot is different. When it's a gunshot. So it's
they had that exchange for a minimum of 5 minutes.
Yeah, yes, they were going back
and minimum of 5 minutes, and you cannot tell me that security operatives cannot arrive on scene within 5 minutes.
And more
5 minutes.
We're even talking about a metropolitan area, and then you get to wonder what those far-flung villages might be going through. We have so many ungoverned spaces in this country where these terrorists or even these non-state actors, they will come, and then at the dead of the night or even at broad daylight, they will sniff life out of Nigerians, and nobody is going to question them. I think it's something that is so worrisome, and then this government needs to do something about it. Because if it gets to a point where a citizen is trying to use whatever means to defend himself, it means, I don't know. We've really gotten it.
Yes. See, it's quite unfortunate, to be honest with you. It's quite unfortunate that it is happening like that. So people's protection is now on their own hands. As funny as it may look, now if you go to some of these areas, you see that people contribute monies to pay vigilantes. If you are rich enough, you hire a man.
Yes.
You build your house, you create solar you buy solar or generator for yourself, you dig a borehole. Then you ask yourself, why do you even have a government? If you can,
of course,
you are building your house, just a house. You are providing your own security in the house. You're providing your own electricity. You're providing your own water, drinkable and usable water in the house. And then you ask yourself, what is the gain? What societal gain are you gaining from the government? There is none. So if institutions like banks will be this vulnerable, I want you to understand how open and how vulnerable we are as Nigerians. Because if an institution like a bank, even if they don't have regards for people who come to the bank, even inside the bank, we've had cases of robbery inside banks in Nigeria. Even inside the banks, I think for their own safety and security and that of their money, they should be able to secure the environment, at least for somebody to know that, okay, even if I want to do something funny, it should not be in a bank. But when you can be able to do things like this in a bank, I think it just further explain how porous our security outfits, our lack of security is. It's an exposure of the lack of security that we have in Nigeria, honestly. It's quite unfortunate.
No, it's clearly very, very unfortunate. It's worrisome, it's unfortunate, and from another angle, it's also funny at the same time, because he did everything he could. And for him to put them under that kind of pressure that they had to leave their car and run, even the fact that, yes, they took the money, but they left the car. He did well.
And I think there are so many angles to that particular incident.
I just want to tell Nigerians, protect yourself, but be careful while at it. Okay? Yes, we should protect ourselves, but we should be careful while at it, because you only know your own preparations. You don't know the preparations of the other person. So please, let's be careful also.
All right. So as a way of rounding up, maybe you would want to say one or two, maybe in 3 seconds or so. So we're pressing for time.
Yes, I think it's important that Nigerians take their destiny in their own hands. And I want to actually urge Nigerians that since we happen to have election cycles after every 4 years, I think it's important that we are cautious of the kind of people we bring in. And that does not just rely on the office of the president. I'm talking about right from your state assembly to your House of Representatives to your senator. I think we need to ask people the proper questions, and we need to understand that they are representing us and not the other way around. So it's important we take our election cycle seriously and we vote in.
All right, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us on this episode of, Facts and Opinion. Thank you so much. It's always a delight.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right. So I'm going to say my final words with merging the three topics we spoke about, and then I'm going to start with the Daniel Bwala interview with Mehdi Hassan. The thing is that this brings to question the inconsistency of our Nigerian politicians. I understand that Bwala may not have been with this government from the start, but then the fact that you were so inconsistent with what you say makes it so difficult for people to trust you. And that is why we have trust deficit today. In fact, if you tell someone, that is why most times if you tell someone to go and vote, they tell you, I'm not going to vote because there's already a trust deficit. People will tell you A and then do B at the end of the day. So it's a call on our politicians to begin to be consistent with what they say. All right, and then on the flip side, Nigerian journalists should also up their game, in terms of holding these people to account for governance and all. And in the area of standing up and then defending yourself, coming from a governor, I think it is pitiable because as the number one citizen of a state, no matter how overwhelming that situation is for you, you're not going to throw your hands in the air and make it look like it is over for you guys. Because if you are telling them you cannot fight, who do you want them to run to? It's more like saying, I'm going to resign honorably since I cannot fight for you guys. Yes, because they voted you there because they believe in your ability to protect them. And the one thing we should understand as a country, or yes, as a government, is to also always look at section 14 subsection 2, which is like the primary responsibility of every government is to protect lives. So if you're not doing that, I don't think there is any other thing you're going to do that will capture the attention of your citizens, because the least the poor masses are asking for is security. Trust me, if Nigerians feel secure, this issue of not having food to eat and all is going to be something they are going to, provide for themselves, because they have been doing that for quite a long time. So this is where we draw the conclusions on today's edition of Facts and Opinion. It has been scintillating. It has been,
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar Olga, for coming around.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. You have a wonderful day ahead.
We'll see you some other time, hopefully.
Yes, definitely. I look forward to coming back.
All right. So, viewer, you can join us on Wednesday for another interesting edition of the show. And of course, share your opinion on what you think about, the discussion we had today. And you can also join or even, follow us on our social media handles that will be displaying on your screen. Thank you so much for being a part of today's edition of the show.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.